Perhaps the most famous invasion in the history of the world, D-Day. 73,000 American troops landed in the D-Day invasion. We have 76,103, according to my numbers, apprehensions along our southern border last month.
But the illicit narcotics are coming primarily still through the ports of entry.
That's where our seizures are made.
Numbers of border crossings are still at a historic low compared to other times in our nation's history.
No, Senator, they're not. We're on pace for over 700,000 crossings this year. That's closer to historic highs than historic lows.
Would you agree that we as a Congress have not given you the tools that you and your officers need to prevent drugs from illegally entering a country across our southwest border?
Sir, we need a barrier. We cannot take operational control of the border without it.
Judgment, in your professional experience, do walls work?
Unquestionably.
So if I understand it correctly, San Diego, the wall there was built in 1992. Illegal traffic dropped 88% over 18 years and 95% over 23 years. We saw the same experience in El Paso. In El Paso, the wall was built in 1993. Illegal traffic dropped 72% over 1 year and 95% over 22 years. Same thing in Tucson, wall built in 2000. Illegal traffic dropped 90% over 15 years. Yuma, the wall was built in 2005. Illegal traffic dropped 95% over 4 years. Are those figures accurate?
Yes, Senator.
And does that reflect your professional experience that putting a physical barrier can have a significant impact decreasing and stopping illegal immigration?
Yes.
Our do-nothing Congress put on yet another spectacle of two sides butting heads over the undeniable crisis on the southern border.
For the record, Madam Secretary, are we still using cages for children?
Sir, we don't use cages for children. In the border facilities that you've been to, they were not made to detain children. As the children are processed through, they are in subparts of those facilities.
The Democrats continued to spin their broken record, pulling at the assumed heartstrings of those outraged by the children of illegal immigrants being locked up and separated, to politicize, or more appropriately weaponize, their Borg-like zeal to criticize the executive office and ultimately the intelligence of the American people.
You let kids be separated without tracking them. Do you know how outrageous that is, Madam Secretary? You have no feeling, no compassion, no empathy here.
A policy that separates babies from their mothers, places them in cages. I was at the border. I saw those babies locked up on top of each other. We would not treat animals. The Humane Society wouldn't allow it, the way those babies were treated.
Because first of all, they're not cages, all right? They're chain link dividers, go all the way up to high ceiling, that separate children from unrelated adults. If we didn't do that back in 2014 and 15 when they were built, then if the first child gets molested by an unrelated adult, what happens? Now that we're under investigation for that.
They were built in 2014 and 15. Trump wasn't president then.
Barack Obama was president. I was there when they were built.
Those who believe that we already have too many people of color in this country. And these, one of whom happens to be the President of the United States of America, would institute policies that will prevent people of color from coming to this country. White babies would not be treated the way these babies of color are being treated, Madam Secretary.
It was a policy by this administration that only ended when there were pictures of little kids in cages that had been ripped away from their parents.
As I recall, the images that circulated around the internet were actually from the Obama administration. They later found out that the picture that circulated the internet of a child in a cage came from the time frame when it was the Obama administration.
Oddly enough, no one mentioned the ongoing rape of hundreds of American children by illegal aliens, but plenty of other horrors were brought to the fore by the opposition.
She's from Mexico. She's about 18 years old. She was taken across the border, kidnapped about 5 years ago, On the third attempt, because they were turned back twice by Border Patrol, on the third attempt they made it through, and she was brought to New York City where she was raped approximately 30 times a day for 5 years. I don't know why nobody talks about that kind of stuff.
If they have to give every female child who's 10 years of age and over a pregnancy test, to me, that is just devastating.
Have there been instances in which people from other countries have paid smugglers a large sum of money to help them get across? They fly to Mexico or in one way or another travel to Mexico from another country, arrive at the U.S.-Mexico border, and they're then paired with a child, not their own, a child they've never met and to whom they have no relation, at the border in order to manipulate our asylum system.
Yes, within those 1,700 fraudulent claims that I briefed in the last 10 months, there were cases like that included. The sexual assault problem is just terrifying. I mean, the Doctors Without Borders clinics in Mexico, 30% of the women that come into those clinics have been sexually assaulted.
You said 30%.
Yes. I mean, that's a devastating number. We have women report every day. Last week, we had a woman in Rio Grande Valley report that the smuggler sexually assaulted her on the riverbank as they arrived in the U.S.
Human coyotes give our animal friends a bad name. The smugglers convinced the mother that it was easier to move the pair separately. They separated the child from their parents. They left a 3-year-old child on the banks of the Rio Grande. It was Border Patrol agents who rescued that child. It's Border Patrol agents who rescue thousands of people from smuggling and trafficking routes every year.
We're responsible for the loss of life.
The growing question is, how does the left describe a crisis? Because the billions of taxpayer dollars spent on illegals, the unnecessary traffic deaths and murders of Americans by illegals, the opioid epidemic fueled by the constant movement of illegal aliens, and the rape of American children by illegals doesn't seem to be a problem to the Democrats whatsoever.
How long have we had this problem? Not the immediate crisis, but of women being raped and children coming here sick and drugs being smuggled and coyotes making billions and drugs coming across. I mean, how long has this been going on?
For decades, obviously.
John Bowne reporting.